This time we're going to talk about stuff that we can do beyond Chapter 3 of TreeBARD development to fix little bugs, add one or two tiny features, improve things in general, just make the GUI a little bit better or whatever needs to be done, and anything I feel like doing. I'm no longer working full-time on TreeBARD after 6 whole years of full-time work. That's 16,000 hours of work approximately. Not that I counted, but yeah, that's more than full-time work. In case you don't have a calculator, I did the calculations for you. That did not make me a professional programmer, but I don't need to be a professional programmer because I knew what I wanted in a genealogy program and I went out and made it. I have a list of things that I compiled while I was editing the last series, which was the TreeBARD 2024 tour, in which we saw the Chapter 3 version of TreeBARD. With Chapter 3 of TreeBARD development finished, any further code is no longer going to be free, but the code is still open source, it's still public domain, and you can still do anything you want with it. In order to get a copy of it from me, you can make a donation at treebard.com/donate.html. Or if somebody else has a copy, maybe you can get it free from them. I don't care what they do with it. You're not buying code. You're not paying for privileges or ownership of the code. You're not buying anything. You're just contributing toward the work that I have done in the past 6 years. That's all you're doing. It's just a pat on the head for me and make you feel better so you can sleep at night. But you're not buying something. No, it's a donation. Here's TreeBARD. We're going to open it up, and you're going to see that when you open a tree, it opens up, taking up quite a bit of space here. And I like the width. The width is all right, but we have this problem in Windows 11 in which you can no longer move the taskbar over here to the left where I like to put it. Ever since they did away with square screens, I have felt shortchanged on the height of the monitor, and at the same time they have glued the taskbar to the bottom of the screen. I can no longer put it on the left where I have extra space. So the solution to that is to do this, but to do it programmatically so that TreeBARD doesn't take up so much space. There seems to be a conflict at times, and especially if I got my screen recorder running. Look for something that deals with screen height. Winfo, screen height. This is a tkinter method that calculates the size of your screen. Find it everywhere. We're either going to find something on line 112 of opening.py or 419 here. This is TreeBARD max size. Oh, it's used in opening. Let's try 110, opening.py. Self.max size, this is the size of a family tree, whereas this is going to be the size of the main app. Oh, now see, there's what I was talking about. That's the main app. Let's look at widgets.py, 1592. There's another self.max size. This time we're looking at a scroll dialog. Well, this is a scroll dialog. See, family tree inherits from scroll dialog. Now, it seems to me like it's changing its tune here. Scroll dialog has its own self.max size, which is 85% of the screen height. But when family tree class inherits from it, it overrides that attribute with its own max size, which is this. You see, that's a little bit better, but it's not much better. So in order to make sure that I actually changed something, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just add 100 to it and see if that is actually doing anything. Yes, it is. Okay, now where do I really want that to be? The reason for the scroll bar is one of these. Maybe this one has content that takes up that much space. That's the way the tab book is. You don't want to resize it all the time. You want it to be big enough for the biggest content, and then the others are going to have a scroll bar. Let's just subtract 50 from that and call that good and see how we like it in use. Now we've got room to play down here. That's our first little change. This series is called Make TreeBARD Yours, because what you need to do if you want to use TreeBARD is to start with TreeBARD as a working model or as an inspiration of what to do or what not to do, or both, a little of this and a little of that. And then add to the code, fix things you think are broken, add features that you think are missing, replace features you don't like. In other words, take what you like and leave the rest. Make TreeBARD yours. So in this series, I'm making TreeBARD mine. The Chapter 3 version, which took 6 years and 2 weeks to create of more than full-time work, is still free on the website. But what you're seeing now is going into a version that will be sent to people who send a donation to me. But right now I'm making TreeBARD mine so that when I use it to do my genealogy work, I will enjoy it. GEDCOM export is broken. Let's get to that. Well, this always works good, so I don't know what happened to it. Let's just take a quick peek. I suspect it's going to be something kind of minor. So let's take sample tree and export it to a GEDCOM file. That's done, and we'll look at the GEDCOM file and see that it's not finished. So here we are looking for the one I just made. It's 4:45 p.m. on August 14th. Let's open that up. That stops in the same place as last time. Now we need to see the error message. None type object is not subscriptable. So what we got here is a little error because curfetch1, if it gets no results, it returns a none. And then if you try to subscript none, you can't do that. So you got to test it first to make sure there's something there. And if there's nothing there, then you got to do one thing. If there is something there, then you can subscript it to get the one item that's in it, because the one item that's in it is going to be the first item of a tuple. But there's no tuple in it. If there's no results, its value is just none. So we want to look at GEDCOM export 726 and see what we were trying to do. This might be a recent change, or because of a recent change, or because of something that was done to the database incorrectly, or something that was done to the database and then this query was not updated to account for that. So let's look at that. Look at the query, which will be in GEDCOM constants. There's your query. So we're looking for a place name in the place name table, and it's joined to main TBD, which has a reference to the main place name ID. And for any given place, if there is no reference to a place name in main TBD for that place, you're going to get no results, because this is a regular join. It's an inner join. It's not a left join or outer join. Don't ask me about left, right, inner, outer. I'm not going to teach you that stuff. Those are just topics you will need to understand in order to understand what I just halfway explained to you. If you say left join here in SQLite, you're going to get results even if something is null. But this is just a regular old join. Could say inner join here. Left join in SQLite is short for left outer join. There are no right outer joins. And inner joins, I do believe left and right has nothing to do with it. And if you want to know what left and right mean, well, never mind. You look it up, okay? This is inner join. It will not get results if there is a null. So if there is no reference to a place name ID for any given place, that place is going to return none for that curfetch1 in the query. So what we need to know is what place ID were we looking for, and look it up in the database and see if there is, as I suspect there to be, no reference to a place name ID in main TBD for that certain place. So let's open up the database and see. But first, let's go ahead and print the place ID. That would be this. And the last one it prints is going to be the one that causes trouble. Or maybe they're all causing us trouble if the code's bad enough. So we're going to run that over. Okay, now you see it's going right along. So the code itself is pretty good, as I suspected, but then we get to some bad data where probably during experimentation or development, a query that was supposed to do two things only did one thing because there was an interruption due to an error, and probably nothing went into main TBD for this place. This would be place ID 40. That's the short version. Let's look at sample tree. We could look at the place table, but that won't tell us anything because all the names are in the place name table. We're talking about Tacoma here. Tacoma's place name ID is 117. And there's our problem. Tacoma is not represented in main TBD. There needs to be a record in main TBD for every single place, because every place needs to have a main place name, and main TBD is a place where we record what is the main place name. So in main TBD we've got, this is the part we care about, place name ID, integer. It references place name ID. That's a foreign key, and it just needs to be there. That's all it does. It's just there. If it's not there, that's a problem. If it is there, then we know it's the main place name for its place. So there's two ways we could do this. We could add place name ID 117 to main TBD, but it's possible that Tacoma's not even used. So we could also delete place ID 40 from the place table. Let's see if place ID 40 is used anywhere. That's more than enough. Yeah, there is a nesting in the nested place table for Tacoma. This is probably Washington, and this is probably USA. So what we need to know is, do we actually use this place somewhere? I mean, the easy way is just add it to main TBD, go 117, add it, but I'm just showing you a little bit of structure here on how these places work. Nested place ID is only used in the events table. Yes, Tacoma is used in two places. So what we're going to do is we're going to add place name ID 117 to main TBD. That's all we have to do. There may be other places like that because I was working on this and that and the other thing for a while, and there may be more than one mistake in the database. So let's go find out, see if there's any more. The right way would be to query the database to see if there's anything in place that is not in main TBD. But I don't feel like writing that query right now. Okay, I think we got a go this time. That's the right one. Oh, this time we got 3,619 lines of GEDCOM ending in a trailer. As you can see, TREEBARD does not put a blank space at the end of the line. That is correct. A lot of programs are sloppy in that way. We made sure ours wasn't sloppy in that way. And that is a perfectly good GEDCOM file made by TREEBARD. That is done. Here's something that I forgot to show you in the tour. So there's a couple of problems here that I didn't catch in the tour because I didn't try them. We got a non-couple event which can be changed to residence. No problem. What if you delete it? Can you delete it? No problem. Let's put it back here. What if I try to change it to wedding? This one. Can't do it. But watch, it's not going to change back to what it's supposed to be. That needs to change back to residence, and it doesn't do it. I can redraw the table, and now it's residence. This one, if I try to change a wedding to a residence, can't do that. And that doesn't work. So we're going to go over to events table. This is the error message. You can't delete a birth event, okay? That's the other thing I forgot to show you. You can't delete a birth event, but you get an error after the TREEBARD error is turned off because the birth text needs to go back in here, and it didn't. It didn't go back in because this is no longer a label. Basically, it's a text widget, a tkinter text widget. So on 415, we have to change that to account for a change that was made some time ago. This is not going to be like that. InWidget is this input widget here that didn't get reconfigured. This is a birth event. This is a text widget. That should fix that. This is always about a birth event, so I could say birth, but as you can see, we do have the initial text, so let's just say that, and it's a little bit more robust that way in case it's used anywhere else. Turn off the error message. Goes back to birth, no problem. Okay, now let's figure out how to do the similar thing with this. When we try to change this to residence, we can't do it, but we want to return the text that said wedding so we don't have to redraw the table like that. This is going to be a different error message. So let's keep looking for events message till we find the one we want. Incompatible event type error. Only one of them. This is going to be it. And this is what happens. It says message 4. It should be more obvious what that means. This is a button. The error message code is kind of cryptic. I could just do an unpacking of this tuple or list or whatever it is someday, maybe, if I feel like it. Anyway, that is the command run by the button that you press to close the error message, and when you do that, then it should be returning the initial value. If you look back at this last one, it had InWidget. This one. InWidget is what happens when you delete an event, but see, we're not deleting an event this time. We're changing one event to a different event. So let's see if we have something like this in the method that we're using down here in incompatible event type. That's going to be it right there, because this is a nested function inside this method. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say widget.insert something like initial value, I believe it is. This is a text, so we're going to go line 1, character 0. And that was when we were trying to replace wedding with residence. Okay, there you go. You see how we failed to remove the word residence. Got to do that too. So first you delete the old stuff. all the way to the end. $471. Well, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Okay, went back to wedding. Everything's hunky-dory. Now the only other thing that I wanted to do here, let me see if we can delete this. I'm pretty sure we can. No problem. Try change this to a wedding. And it went back to residence. Okay, doing good. Well, that's pretty good for this movie. When we come back, we're going to look at some other situations that are a little bit more difficult to deal with. Basically, an unfinished feature, a feature that we want to add that's not even started, and a feature that is working irregularly. Okay, so I'll see you in the next movie.